Hey everyone, my name is Scott Mance. Welcome to today's Industry Awards screening conversation for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Now, before we get into the conversation, just some stats about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, in particular season 3. Over the last 3 seasons, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel has been nominated for 54 Emmys. And for the first 2 seasons, it won 16. For the current season, it is nominated for 20 Emmys, which makes it TV's most nominated comedy, including Outstanding Comedy Series, Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series, and Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. Speaking of which, let's welcome, he is a previous Emmy winner, and he is nominated for his 2nd time, Luke Kirby. How you doing?
Very well. Great to see you, Scott. Thank you.
Great to see you too. And also a previous Emmy winner. She is nominated for her 4th time this season for Best Actress, Rachel Brosnahan. Hello, Rachel.
Hi. Thank you for the warm welcome. I didn't know some of that stuff. Thanks.
That's what I am here for. So first of all, I mean, watching season 3, which I've now done 4 times since it first appeared on Amazon Prime, I got to say that the scope of this series has really just set a new bar between the production design, the wardrobe, the makeup, the cast. Rachel, when did you first see and feel what the scope of this season was going to be like?
I feel like the scope continues to surprise me. Just when I think it can't get any bigger or any faster, it does. But honestly, probably on the very first day, the very first scene we ever shot on the show was the scene where Midge comes and tells her parents that Joel left her. And we'd rehearsed the scene before. I thought it was going to be pretty standard. And I had, by the end of this scene, we were taking the camera through 5 rooms and you saw the entire apartment. And even a scene that felt really intimate and small suddenly felt like a huge choreographed production. And I think that was an inkling. And then at so many moments, I mean, the opening, I guess the first time at the Gaslight felt big. The first welcome song at the Catskills felt even bigger. Season 3 opened with 850 background actors in an airplane hangar in Long Island. And I think I turned to Amy at some point and I was like, this is it, right? It doesn't get, please tell me it doesn't get any bigger than this. And she just kind of went, so I have no idea what we're in for, but it's been pretty spectacular to be in the middle of, and also to take a step back and look at from the outside.
How about for you, Luke? What was it like, especially over the course of the 3 seasons, to come back for your time on season 3 and to just see how much the show had grown and evolved?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been. I've always been amazed from the get-go at how well all of the departments are collectively creating a world. And I've always said this, that it kind of makes, the job feel a lot more seamless, because you don't really have to do too much work in the imagination to believe that you're in that world. You sort of are just subsumed under everyone else's work, and you sort of find the flow through it that way. I think that as it's progressed, though, I'm always wowed when I actually watch it and see the dynamic of the camera and the lighting and, the whole thing come together. It's always sort of like mind blowing. The thing for actors is like, so much of what we do is done in one take. And that is, that's the real test of mettle. And yeah, it's really depends on the page count. That's when you know that you're in for a big one, is when they go, oh yeah, we're not cutting for the next 10 pages. And
yeah,
you try to find a sink to go drown yourself in, but they've got them all locked up.
Rachel, you talked about the USO scene in the first episode of season 3, but from there you all went to Miami. Midge was on stage at the Apollo. One episode after another, it was really, I would imagine, a challenge for you. And what were some of the ways that season 3 of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel challenged you like you've never been challenged before?
Yeah, it's another way that the show keeps one-upping itself, and Amy keeps trying to kill me. But I feel like this season there were so many more, and maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like there were more performances, and they weren't always complete performances, but the stand-up itself has always been the scariest part of working on the show for me. I it's the place where I feel the most vulnerable, and as Midge goes on, and starts playing places like Vegas and Miami and the USO, she's becoming a more polished comedian. You have to believe her in all these different spaces, and that has been the ongoing challenge of the show. There was a day in Miami, I'm sure I was very grumpy and panicky about it, which was not fun for anyone else. But where we shot back-to-back sets. We actually shot the sets, or some of the sets, in 5 and 6, one day after the other. And so, and there had been some changes to one of them, and so I just remember being up all night trying to learn 2 full sets to shoot them back to back, and that was really scary and challenging. But I have to always shout out our background actors, because they are the greatest scene partners in those scenes. And I felt like I got a tiny inkling of what Midge felt heading into Miami, because we have some background actors who repeat on the show a lot when we shoot in New York. And this was a brand spanking new audience who don't necessarily know what they're there to see when they show up on the day, and they gave it for 10 plus hours in a very hot theater in Florida, and make those scenes come alive. It's been crazy, but really fulfilling.
The first time, Luke, that you read the screenplay for It's Comedy or Cabbage, what went through your mind? What was your first impression of that screenplay?
I was, it's always exciting, and it's the sort of the daunting thing. The Miami After Dark certainly felt like it was going to be a big and daunting task, and it was. And I am always charmed when the writers are investigating, Lenny and Midge's friendship, and sort of trying to mull through what is really going on there. So that's exciting, gives us something to some cabbage to chew on. And yeah, I mean, I have the privilege of having good chunks of time between episodes that I'm in to really learn this stuff. And so I'm always amazed at what Rachel's doing, because she's got to be there all the time and learn these massive pieces without a lot of time to kind of stew in it. So yeah, I just get to show up and play around and then disappear again like a genie.
That's a really great point. So Rachel, when you have the massive, the long lines and very little time to do it, how do you do it?
Well, you have no choice but to just do it. So it's sink or swim, and I actually think that as challenging as it has been at moments, has been the thing that has helped me to grow the most as an actor, because like I said, those are definitely, those sets and those big chunks are a place where I feel particularly vulnerable and nervous, and it has taught me to leap off the edge and to take risks, because there is no other option. You're going to show up and you're going to shoot something. So you may as well have a little bit of fun with it and try things that feel wrong and scary, and it's been really cool. But I also have to say that, I mean, it's no short order what you're doing, Luke, to bring a character as iconic as Lenny Bruce to life. And it is this really, I have to say, it's this really magical experience for us inside the show to watch Luke disappear for a period of time, and then come back with this whole new, completely realized set. And just when you think you can't, just when you think you've seen all the different sides of Lenny Bruce. I mean, I remember that with the All Alone set. I want to say, Luke, that you'd been gone for a little while at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching from the wings and watching you play with that set, and then watching the real thing and just being completely blown away. I mean, I was so moved standing in the wings. Like, there's no acting involved on any of my shots. It's been a real masterclass. And so this episode, Comedy and Cabbage, was so fun because we got to spend so much time together.
Rachel, you said a word that I was hoping you brought it up, and you did, because I was going to get to it anyway. And the word is magic. So whenever you're doing a series or a film or any kind of project where there's something special about the leads, the chemistry between the leads. So in the time that you two have been working together, the time that Midge and Lenny have been evolving their relationship, I have to say that the chemistry brings a magic to the table, really, that is really irresistible and so endearing and so great to watch. So what do you think it is about the chemistry between the both of you that brings about a magic that's not on the page? Luke, you go first.
Well, first you take a little bit of flour, and then you separate the yolk from the white part. You don't want that. And then you add a pinch of salt, and then you really roll it out. And you fold it a few times, and you make sure you put a lot of love into it. That's the best that I can come up with, because I don't really know that. I mean, how do you pick apart magic without, sounding crazy, pretentious, or misguided? But it's sort of, to me, it's if there's anything, it's it's what kind of what a lucky fortuitous moment to get to be a part of, and it does feel, the nice thing about this kind of work and this job, when you're lucky enough to get it, is sometimes it does feel like little, things are like the stars are aligning in some way. And for whatever reason, the material speaks to how your life is at the moment, and your life reflects back, and there's sort of this amazing kind of cosmic simpatico that can just happen if you're open to it, I think. I think I'm guessing they're just luck. We just got lucky.
What's your take on that, Rach?
I don't think I can beat that. There was baking involved. There was a yard job. I don't know. I think sometimes you just, sometimes you just meet people and it just works. We're both fucking weird. I don't know. You throw our weird in a room together, and it does a little bit of this, which is a lot like baking, and it works. We have a lot of fun. I know for me, like I've said this to you, Luke, but when Luke comes on set, the pace of the show changes, the energy changes, and it feels like kind of a sigh of relief to sink into a different space in the show. And yeah, we have a good time. We had to shoot this last scene, and it's Comedy and Cabbage, so quickly. I know we've told this story before, but we were shooting with 4 cameras. It was a real feat of technology and camera work. We were trying to shoot at magic hour, and so it was a very long scene. And by the time a take ended, it was completely different light outside. And so what you see is actually 4 cameras shooting simultaneously that have been cut together. And our Steadicam operator, Jim McConkey, was dressed in dental scrubs, like all green. And the camera that he was Caring had a green screen on it so that they could paint him out of some of the shots that he was picked up in post-production. And it's so fun to get to do stuff like that, and to get to continue to push the boundaries of the kinds of filmmaking that we've been a part of, and also what we can do on the show. We also had some operators who got to, operate in those positions for the first time on the show. It's been really cool.
What was that
I don't
like?
think that answered your question, but
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, listen, that scene is a great example of that magic. And I remember when I was watching it for the first time, I thought I knew where that scene was going to go, and it didn't go there. And I actually preferred the way it was shot. I'm glad it didn't go there. So
you're the only one.
so was that always part of the plan that Midge and Lenny would not cross the line, or was that a discussion that all of you had, or was that the plan from the beginning, that they were just going to keep it platonic and just respect each other and keep moving forward?
I had a couple discussions with Amy before the season started, Amy and Dan, about it. I don't want to speak for them because I'm not sure exactly where they landed, but I think for a moment there was a question in the air about kind of what would happen as the season went on. I have gotten some flack for this on the internet, but I definitely had kind of said, please don't do it. Don't do it. I love their friendship, and I love how much they trust each other. This season explores a lot of questions about trust and who you can trust in this business and who you can trust with the squishy parts of you. And it's not a lot of people. And I think that they trust each other. And I worry about what might have happened to that if they had crossed that line. Sorry, viewers.
Listen, it's always better when you don't cross the line, because it's always better to kind of keep evolving the relationship. And Luke, were you surprised that they didn't cross the line, or what?
Well, I would argue with the idea that it's always better to not cross the line. Just from my own experience, I think that there's a lot to be said for crossing the line. But no, I certainly appreciate the idea of, the risk that people do take in the face of friendship to that. I don't have any sort of I don't have any discussions really about where it's going to go or what it's going to be, and I didn't come into the job thinking that this was going to be a conversation that would happen down the road. When I did the pilot, my impression was, he's going to show up this one time, almost like a sort of mystical happening, and that would be it. And for whatever good fortune struck, that wasn't the case, and it's moved into this other realm. And whatever it happens, I think that our duty has to be to allow it to evolve, and what to keep it as real relationships and real friendships, and whatever you want to call it is. It has to keep evolving and growing and being challenged, and that's where the meat and intrigue is going to be. But no, it's really lucky when magnetism happens. I mean, that's why we watch stuff, right?
Well, absolutely,
that's why I watch Deadliest Catch. To see what kind of magic's going to happen. Are they going to pull up a big pot? Or sorry, we were talking earlier about my favorite.
Yeah. This is before we went live, Rachel. So that's where that came from.
I appreciate that.
I want to ask about Amy Sherman-Palladino and Dan Palladino. So they're nominated as producers and they are nominated as directors. And Amy previously made Emmy history by being the first person to win Emmys for writing and directing in the same year. But what makes them great actors, directors, great actors, producers? Rachel, you go first.
They have a crystal clear vision, and they're really good at explaining it. I think that's one of the biggest challenges sometimes is you know that someone has a vision and it's not always easily understood. But they're also willing to like get in the shit and have a conversation about it, even if it rarely changes anything. But it's great. I mean, they're incredible leaders and really visionary directors. I think they were known for a really long time for their writing, which is phenomenal. But they are such incredibly skilled directors. I mean, I feel like they are challenging the way we shoot and view television through the making of this show, and the way that they're able to use their, you know, Amy in particular, she was a dancer. The way that she's been able to infuse this show with that sensibility has been a real gift and a real learning opportunity. I've never worked like this before. You know, also just on a technical note, like a lot of television and film, the meat and potatoes happens from here to here. You know, like I did many years of eyeball acting, and it was a real challenge to learn how to act with my whole body on screen. They're also really trustworthy. I think that's a big part of this. Like I know if we have it and if we're ready to move on. And I know if we don't. They're sensitive to the, you know, all the stuff that it takes to be an actor. But they're not afraid to push us, and they're also not afraid to support us by the same token.
Luke, what is your experience working with Amy and Dan? Like, what makes them great actors, directors, and great actors, producers, and writers too?
Yeah, I think, you know, their process of first of all, they're huge cinephiles. They know everything about movies. They love, you know, you'd be amazed at the things that inspire them, because it's a real archive of inspiration, and it's not always the obvious choice. But I do think, like, as an actor, I think that where they, you know, they love actors, and where they kind of pull cool and dynamic and interesting performances out of people is in how they the sort of the energy that they build on a set, which is one that is loving, but is also athletic. Like it is not, it's not a cerebral endeavor once you're on set. It's kind of it's a go time situation. You're sort of expected to really be on top of your game. And because they do this thing where, you know, you shoot a whole scene from beginning to end, you don't really get to rely on a lot of tricks that I think a lot of us kind of get to learn in other situations filming on camera, where you can sort of pick and choose where you're going to do things and how you're going to adjust, and you know, and sometimes that can be great for little nuances and stuff. But the sort of thrill that I get out of doing this is that when I sit back and watch the show, I have forgotten what I did.
Wow. Because
just because of the dynamic, the tension on set of like hitting the right pace, making sure that you're not the one who screws up the, you know, 10-minute long take, which I've done many times. But you know, you just sort of, you walk away from it going like, I don't know what happened. It was really fun, but I have no idea what happened. And so then you watch it, and I mean, as Rachel was pointing out, you know, we shot that scene at outside the motel with all those the camera operators, and I watched the show, and I, you know, thought, what a great scene and all that. And then I saw a behind the scenes photo where there was actually an operator who had been taken out of the frame by, computer doodads or whatever. And like, I had forgotten that there was anybody there. I sort of, my memory of it is that it was me and Rachel. So it's just, I think it's that kind of keeping things on their toes is what I love about working with them, and why I think that stands a chance at working.
Rachel, at the top of the conversation, I was talking about just how the production design, everything about the show has really just raised the bar. But, really the season 3, and it's a bold statement because the first 2 seasons were so magnificent, is that this is a show that really has hit its stride in the 3rd season, among other reasons, because of the ensemble cast. This really truly felt like an acting ensemble where every character had a great arc, went through a whole lot of change, and everyone, Tony Shalhoub, I mean, especially poor Abe with his midlife crisis, but everyone just went through such change, and that the show, more than anything, for better or worse, felt like a true family. What's your take on all that?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. What we see is how it feels. We really love working together, and there are no assholes involved in this show, which I wish was not as rare as it is. I've been very lucky in that department, but this show in particular, it's an ambitious group, and that family extends beyond the ensemble that you see on screen. It's a huge family. It involves all the different departments that you mentioned. It really does feel like a collective, and it's a really ambitious collective. It's a group that doesn't just want to meet expectations year after year, but exceed them and keep raising the bar for ourselves. And that makes it, as Luke said, something that keeps us constantly on our toes. But we all really like each other, and what a gift to get to spend 3 years. We're heading into our 4th year doing this. I've never been on a show for longer, or a show as a regular for more than 2 years, and this will be the longest I've ever been a part of the show. And I'd heard other people talk about that experience of becoming a family, and it always sounds a little bit corny, but it's so true. This is a group that looks out for each other, and a group that comes from a lot of different places and experiences, and that means that we're all learning from each other too. I mean, to get to do, I definitely count myself as the luckiest member of this cast, because I get to work with everyone, because I get to learn from all of these actors on a daily basis, who before this show were a part of some of my favorites. It's been very cool, but it's always really reassuring and kind of exciting to hear that dynamic translates to the audience, because it's real.
And for you, Rachel, to develop a character now into its 3rd season, and now moving on to a 4th season, like what a dream! What a dream for you as an actor to develop a character like that.
Yeah, I always got scared that I would feel like there wasn't anything left to do if I wanted to go for this long. And we are, thanks to great writing, kept on our toes week after week after week. It's been, as you said, a real gift to get to continue to grow with this character and evolve with her, and to keep being challenged at every turn. Amy's going to keep trying to kill me for as long as we're on the air.
And Luke, from your perspective, when you come back for another episode, you're coming from a different point of view, because you're coming in as a character who's recurring. So what are the challenges to grow and evolve and further develop a character when that character is recurring?
I think a lot of the time the challenge is, in situations like this, is just sort of figuring out how to keep your wheels greased. But honestly, I have to say that hasn't been the case with Maisel. I think that that's just a testament to the fact that it's, you know, that Lenny, the Lenny Bruce, has provided me with such kind of friendship and material to kind of really try to absorb, and gives me, you know, just all this time to immerse and have fun with and daydream. And so it's really not, it's a rarity, but it is kind of just a charm. And I, you know, and then I sort of feel like I get to, as I've said, go into that world and, you know, play around. And I feel like when I do arrive, I sort of feel like I do feel really welcomed into the dynamic. And I feel like, yeah, it's always so nice to see everybody. And yeah, it's a really nice, it's a lot better than a lot of my time in grade school.
I'm sure it was. Rachel, I want to ask, like, what's your dog's name? I see your dog in the background there.
Sorry, yeah, they are. They're sharing a bed. There's two. There's Winston, who's I think you saw wandering around, and Nikki, who's been asleep the whole time. Thank you for asking about my dogs.
Of course. Well, listen, to both of you, just congratulations on an amazing season. Congratulations on all the recognition from the Emmys, and best of luck filming season 4. I'm very excited. And thank you so much to everyone for joining us on this very special Industry Awards screening Q&A for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. You can watch all of it right now on Amazon Prime. My name is Scott Nance, and thank you for joining us for today's conversation.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. This was so fun.
Yeah.